Hey everybody, this is Kite Altair here, and we're 4 weeks away from me getting the new captured colony. Um, I was going to do it a lot sooner, however, with the weather starting to warm up, but it's still being too cold for them to come out, I decided to put it off for another few weeks. But by the time around February 15th or so, February 18th, it should definitely be warm enough for them to start coming out so that when I do capture them, which I'm going to show you guys, as well as them moving into their new formicarium, I disturb them when they're already active and not disturb them when they're still trying to come up from hibernating over this winter. So just look out for that. It's going to be 4 weeks away. I'm so excited to show you guys all my plans, what I'm going to be doing. But for right now, we're going to focus on this video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about some new enclosures that I have made for future ant colonies. Now, if you look here, you'll see my same old formicarium that I made. However, one night I was actually just up thinking, trying to figure out if there were any ways that I could, there we go. So I was looking to see if there were any ways I could alter my formicarium setup, and I came up with a few ideas. So I drafted it, drew it all up, and I'm going to show you guys on my computer now. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead on my computer and let's just get this started. All right, everybody, so we are now on my personal computer, and I'll go ahead and start the showing. So this is the auto watering figure that I drew up. How this is set up, I'll give you an overview, then I'll go into specifics. First, you'll have this timer, and this timer will be an automatic electrical timer, well, digital timer, that once it hits a predetermined time, will activate this aquarium water pump. This aquarium water pump, which I'll show you guys here, has a nipple here. So this nipple is going to have a tube that is going to be connected to it. And this tube will do one of several things depending on the setup. For this specific setup, what it will do is have a tube connected to this mini freezer. And with this mini freezer, it'll be a bucket that has tubing that's coiled all around it, and then it comes out. And then once everything is secured to the side of the bucket, I'm going to put in the mini freezer, which will freeze it. Now, no water is going to be inside the tubes. No ice is going to be inside the tubes. The only water that'll be inside is this melted water. So what that does is when water pumps through here, there are going to be a lot of coils, which allows all that water to come in contact with that ice via the tubing as a barrier and allow it to chill. And it'll just keep spiraling out until eventually it comes out, and then it hits the formicarium and it goes through this wall and it pumps out into here. When it pumps out, it'll fill this chamber up, and then once it hits a predetermined level, it's going to, the excess water is going to drain into this overflow tube, which will go here into this bucket. And if I want to drain the entire reservoir, I would go ahead and open up this spigot, and that'll allow all the water to drain out into here as well. But when I don't want it to drain, I'll just keep it closed. So pull it up. So here's the formicarium, and even though you don't see it here, that's because it's just a drawing. That's not how it's gonna look right now, but when I develop it, this is how I plan for it to look. So a section of it, let's say this sliver, will be empty space, have no soil in it. And this tube, this excess drain tube, this will actually be screwed and strapped on the wall itself. And it's not going to be facing out like this. It's more convenient to just have it connected to the wall so that everything drains out and goes into this excess. This right here is going to be some netting. And this netting is just to make sure that no ants get in and thus drown. So it's just to keep them out. And here you will see the plexiglass. So I'm going to have a piece of wood that is covered in plexiglass on all sides. But this is going to be its main purpose. And what this does, what this slanted plexiglass does is, once the water fills up and evaporates, it'll condense onto this plexiglass. Now, if you remember from my past video about me making a formicarium, you'll know that I have a heat lamp, which you can actually see a little bit of right here, this black area. So that'll make sure that the water is warm, and it'll evaporate, condense, come down following the flow of gravity, and then it'll come into the soil. So when it gets into the soil, that'll be the water supply for the ants. And what I'll also end up doing is getting another one of these pumps here. Get another one of these pumps, and I'll have some tubing connected so that it drains this excess water and puts it back into the original. So there's a constant cycle. This part right here, this bucket, don't worry about this, because this is actually a mistake that I had made when I was drawing, because I was going to do a different way. But then I changed my mind on it, so I just kept it there, but didn't want to X it out because I thought that would look kind of bad. So this is how it's gonna look, the first version, and I could use this if I wanted to winter them. I could use it as an experiment to see if it'll actually work, but all I have to do is ensure that the heat lamp is cut off, and then when it pumps, it'll have that cold water, and when that cold water it has that ambient cold temperature, it'll just take all this will just be cool. Maybe not cold, but at the very least it'll be cool. And I could use that to, hibernate them, even though it'd make a lot more sense to just use this mini fridge to put them all in. So that makes more sense. But I could also try it and see what happens, though I am doubtful of its success in that manner. Now, another option I could do is here at the bottom. Now here you guys can see where I actually have it connected to some cross fittings. Now what these cross fittings are little like pieces of plastic, and what they do is when you connect the tube to one end, it gives you 3 different ports so that you can connect more tubing. And I could use that for the chill method, or I can use that for the normal method. The normal method being just have it directly connecting from the aquarium water pump into these cross fittings, and then from the cross fittings connect to one formicarium or many different formicariums. And if I really have a lot, all I need to do is have a cross fitting connected to another cross fitting, so that way instead of only having one formicarium be supplied with water, I can have like 5 connected. So you have the 3 here, you have 4 here, and then you have 5. And then I can do it like that. The only thing is, I'd imagine if I'm going to connect it to different formicariums, that the runtime will have to be different. So instead of having the minimum runtime for this water pump be a minute, I might have to do 2 or 3 minutes just to ensure that all of the formicariums get filled into the drain tube. And again, I won't really have to worry about it, because even if there is some overflow, it'll get drained back into the source anyway. So it's a continuous cycle where I only have to water it one time, and that's just to make sure it's filled up, this in a reservoir, and then at that point I'm done. Because to be honest, I can easily get one of those water coolers, hang it upside down, stabilize it, and connect the tube that goes from it to here. And that it'd be as simple as that, in all honesty. I just got to make sure that the pressure that's exerted by the water cooler jug isn't enough to cause this bucket to overflow. So the bucket would obviously have to have a greater capacity than the water cooler jug. And here's the timer that I'm going to use here. And with this, it has dual outlets. So if you look at this picture here, you can see it has 2 outlets here, one here and one on the other side as well. And I could use that again to plug up this pump right here that's going to be in here and pump back to the source, which will be easy enough. Or what I could also do is have an extension cord plug into the normal plug that it's plugged into, and then have 2 of these connected to the extension cord. That way I have a little bit more freedom and movement. So either of those will work perfectly. So I have another thing, which will be my ant feeding figure. And in here, this is basically the same thing. The only difference is these two figures actually have the auto watering feature. But what I would do here, this is alternate way to feed them. So instead of having a outworld like this, which this one isn't complete yet, all I need to do is get the plexiglass for it. However, since I'm doing some other things as far as shooting videos and preparing to get this captured colony, right now I'm just going to have it wait for a little bit. But I only have about 4 weeks, 3-4 weeks left, depending on the temperature. And what I find when I go do recon to go see if the ants are actually ready or not. But until then, I'm just gonna wait. But it's, instead of having an outworld, I thought it would be good to just have it like this, which is modified. So in the formicarium itself, you would have these feeding areas. The only difference between these two is that you have one that's at the bottom, one that's in the middle. Now, I prefer figure 2 as opposed to figure 1 because figure 1, it has the pieces of wood that are going to be encased in plexiglass and in silicone, and you have this piece right here that goes down connected to the main part that's connected to the wall. This has an opening that is uncontrolled, which means that the soil could possibly access and touch when I come into contact with the food here. Normally that isn't a problem. However, I would like to, if possible, minimize the contact between them because let's say the ants don't want it, it would just be sitting there. And there's nothing I can do to really get it out unless I make the ants move out, in which case it'll just be a pain in the ass, to be honest with you. And I also don't really like this one because if you look here where the water is going to be evaporating, it's right in the way of it. And even though I doubt the evaporation rate is going to be high enough for this to get soaked, I still believe that this might not be the best idea, even though a good thing is with this open space, a lot of ants can come in, take it, and do what they want with it, as opposed to this one, which is more isolated. Now, you don't have to worry about the water and evaporation as much because it's above that line that it would hit to begin with. But with this extra little bit of tubing, what this does is ensure that there is no contact with the soil, no prolonged exposure to the soil other than the ants taking it out and eating it thusly. So if the ants decide they don't want the food, I mean, I'm still okay because it's so isolated, it'll take a while before it starts to go bad, especially when you consider the fact that the inside of this containment of this feeding area is going to be clean, so I don't have to worry nowhere near as much about bacteria, fungi, or anything like that, as opposed to if it was directly in contact with the soil and got exposed to the bacteria, such as the waste from the ants interacting with it and causing a whole bunch of things possibly. So here on both figures, you can see the insertion tube for the food. And here, specifically for these two, these pieces of wood are actually going to be connected. Oh, yep, here it is. Will be connected to the plexiglass. So I'm going to have a screw that goes through the 1/4-inch plexiglass and hits the wood, and it's going to be screwed directly into it. And what that does is help add that additional support, so this entire structure doesn't have all the weight on one wall, but instead it's supported throughout the way in both figures. Now the next thing is modified outworlds. Now as you can see here in modified outworld, you just have this general outworld, and the issue that I find with this is that you have so much wasted space. Now if you look at it, most of this is not even going to be used by the ants. Like you have half of it that'll really be used by the ants, but the rest of it, this whole upper portion, serves no real use because all they'll do is just forage around, crawl around trying to find something. So then I thought to myself, why don't I just utilize that space? And the best way for me to utilize it would be to possibly have the formicarium split in half. So one half will be the formicarium, the other half will be the outworld. And by splitting them both, what this does is maximize the utilization of this outworld, so it's not where half of it is used, the other half it kind of exists. So I can use it no matter what. It doesn't matter if the outworld's at the top or if it's at the bottom. But the only thing that really matters is these support beams. Now, when you look at the picture, here you go. The support beams I plan to have at every corner of this formicarium, and they're going to be screwed in by screws coming from the base up. So then they'll be screwed at the top, and then once they're secured, I'm going to have plexiglass that comes down, and then I'm going to screw it to the plexiglass. That way it is fully secured, and then the edges will have a layer of silicone around it. And what that silicone will do is just ensure that ants can't get in or get out or breach this container. Not coming out of the outworld, but that they can't just crawl directly up to get their food. In order for them to get their food in the first place as well, they have to go through this wraparound tubing. Now the tubing itself is not going to be connected from directly up to directly down. How it's going to be is a wraparound feature. So let's say that tube started here in this area. I would ensure that it snakes all the way down and then connects to another side. And what that does is ensure that when the ants are trying to travel from one place to another, or when they're trying to move food from one place to another, that it's as gentle of a slope as possible, which maximizes their ability to get up and down and just traverse the outworld in general. So these are my two ideas. I'm pretty certain that these are going to work. And the reason why is because, one, I know how to build it already. I just need to buy this, which is the pump. And I also need to buy the timer itself, which is no problem. As you can see, it's about $12, $13. And over here, it's like $23 if I want 400 gallons per hour. So it's not going to even be that difficult. So these are my ideas. You have here the ant feeding figure, and you also have your auto watering feature. Now this auto watering feature is good so that when you actually want to leave to go someplace on vacation, instead of having to worry about having to get somebody to feed your ants or to water your ants for you, it'll do it on its own. Only thing you really need to do is make sure that the reservoir, whether you hook one up or just use this bucket as a reservoir in and of itself, you just need to ensure that it's filled up to the brim. Maybe not all the way to the brim, but pretty close, pretty filled, so that as it does its pumping and the recycling of water, they'll at least have water. And for food, all I would do is ensure that they are fed continuously, or you just put a lot of food in there, and then as the weeks go by, then they just eat whatever they want. What you could also probably do is set up some type of rig that gives them honey water, so that would be the protein that they need in order to keep growing. But it depends on the species you have as well. So this is my video here talking about the new formicarium enclosures. Hopefully I can get this made by the time I have the captured colony. If I can't make it when I have the captured colony, it'll be really close. So thank you guys for watching. Have a good day. Have a very safe weekend. Please like and subscribe and share with your friends. And for this week's challenge, let's see if we can get 5 likes for this week. So I know it's simple, just 5 likes, but it actually means a lot when I see you guys commenting and liking my videos and just watching it in general. So if you guys have any other any ideas that you have that can help me improve my formicarium, please let me know. Just drop me an inbox, or you can drop me a comment, and I'll be sure to return it, and we can start a conversation from there. But in any case, thank you for watching, and please have a good day and a very blessed weekend. See you guys. Bye.